Welcome back to America on the Road with Chris Teague. This is Jack Nerad back with you, and we're so glad you're with us right here on America on the Road. It is road test time, and we have some fascinating road test vehicles. I was driving the 2024 Volkswagen ID.4 Pro S, one of the latest versions of the Volkswagen ID.4. Of course, it's an electric SUV. It's built in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And Volkswagen has committed a whole bunch to building electric vehicles, and including this plant in Chattanooga that I visited several years ago. This is a vehicle that's about the same size as a Volkswagen Tiguan, or maybe even more familiar to you, a Honda CR-V or something like that. So about a compact SUV. Pretty roomy though, because it makes use of the electric drivetrain to make the interior a little more roomy than the typical gas-powered vehicle of the same size would be. I think it's a good-looking vehicle. I think it still looks good, even though it's been on the market for quite a while now. They've done some improvements to the vehicle, and the rear-drive models, including the one I drove, now offer up to 291 miles of range on a charge, so that's good. They've also upgraded the infotainment display. Everybody's doing that, putting in bigger screens, and this now has a 12.9-inch infotainment screen. It also has a lot of stuff buried in the screen, so you use the screen a lot. Prices range from about $42,000 up well over $55,000 if you equip it fairly well. And they've upped the DC fast charging ability of the Pro models, so I like that. The base model has 201 horsepower, has a single rear-mounted motor. The vehicle I had has a single rear-mounted motor, but it has 282 horsepower, so I like that. And not super fast, but not slow, kind of maybe 5 seconds or so, 0 to 60 in that range. Certainly enough pep, I think, for this. It gets pretty good fuel economy. I think 113 mpge, miles per gallon equivalent, which is a good number, and a lot of safety equipment too. The vehicle I had, as I mentioned, had 282 horsepower rear drive. The range I talked about, 20-inch alloy wheels. Give me your take. I don't know that you've driven an ID.4, but you've certainly seen a few. What's your take overall on what Volkswagen's doing here?
Yeah, I agree with you on the styling. I think it looks great. I think the interior is premium. It looks nice inside, and Volkswagen does pretty well with using nice materials. One thing I did want to ask you, Jack, if you know, was your test vehicle built in Chattanooga, or is it still a German or foreign built vehicle?
I'm not exactly sure. I have the Monroney here, and if I had my if I had my reading glasses, I could probably determine where it was built, but I'm not certain. My guess is it was built in Chattanooga, but I don't know that for sure.
Okay.
So I'll check back, and we can report that on the next show. But it has a lot of cool stuff in it. It has dual automatic climate control, has an air filter, of course. I think most things are going to have air filters. It has steering wheel controls, a heated steering wheel, tilt and telescoping steering column, heated and ventilated seats. The Pro version, the Pro S version, is pretty well equipped. The prices tested was about $52,000. So that's a lot of money for a vehicle that's the same size as a CR-V. It has leatherette seating surfaces as opposed to leather seating. Here's one of the things that kind of bugs a little bit, and I don't know why they did this. And mostly I like this car, so don't get me wrong, but this is the bug to me. Instead of having 4 discrete window switches for the driver, it has 2 window switches and another switch where you toggle it back and forth between front and rear. And I absolutely do not see the logic in that whatsoever. I kept rolling down the rear window as opposed to the my window whenever, and it's just like, well, why is this? This is you save a button, okay, and you end up upsetting the driver all the time and making him feel stupid. And I feel stupid enough without having the window switches rub it in my face. What's your take on that?
Yeah, there's no need to reinvent the wheel every single time you create a new vehicle. We've talked about this with gear shift levers, and buttons and things. And it's just another step of distraction, right? You got to stop and think about which window you're rolling down instead of just instinctively grabbing the correct button to do it.
Right. I mean, the other thing that's a bit disconcerting is it doesn't have an on and off switch. It doesn't have a start button. It begins to operate when it senses you're sitting in the seat. And then when you get out of the seat and get out of the vehicle, it turns off. But I'm never quite convinced that it knows that I'm either in or I'm out. So that's a kind of a little weird situation too. This is a very likable vehicle. I think, prices of all electrics are pretty high. But this is a pretty good vehicle to take a look at, I think, if you're looking for a vehicle of that size. A lot to like about it.
I agree.